regular meeting on this Tuesday, November 18th. The first matter on the agenda is the continued public hearing for site plan review for the 0 Brook Street solar expansion. Is there anybody here from the applicant who would like to start us off?
Thank you. Good evening, Zachary.
Handcuffed.
Sorry, Pam.
Zachary Farkas, Rewild, on behalf of the applicant with Greg Sampson from Sullivan Worcester. Thank you guys for your time tonight. Sorry for missing the November 4th meeting, but I know Greg was able to kind of carry the water for our side, and I was able to go online and watch the entire meeting play out. So that was really helpful, and I feel fully up to speed. I was really happy to see that we boiled down kind of the material open items to kind of three items that John Schmidt took the lead on, and you had commented on a little bit as well. Tree clearing, stormwater, and then effective ground covering. And so to that end, I wanted to take each of those items kind of in order of, at least from my perspective, hardest to easiest. So I wanted to start with tree clearing. And to that end, we put together some exhibits. These exhibits were shared over email on November 13th. Just because during the hearing last week, it seemed like it would be welcome to get a couple of these documents prior to this meeting. But I will talk through them just in the event you guys haven't had a chance to fully review.
Let's see. Did you get them?
Keeping the...
I think so. I didn't get them.
Yeah, no, we haven't looked at these.
Okay, yeah, I didn't say that. Did I miss something? Totally possible.
Great. So what's up here right now is the satellite images from the original application. It was way back in June. But during the first hearing, I walked through 10 different satellite images.
Okay, but wait, I'm going to stop you for 1 second because we can see that really well, but there's some member of the public.
I don't need to see it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I have nothing to do with it. I just got a separate matter I want to talk about after.
Okay.
Sure you don't want to join in? What the heck? Here anyhow.
Sorry, I didn't
Go
mean to.
ahead.
No, I appreciate it, though. Thank you.
So what I haven't is, this is just a reminder, I didn't want to hit the poor print shop up for another $500 worth of satellite images. I did update the packet in front of you, but just to be clear, this set was from the original application materials exhibit, where we sought to show the site over time. This first set that was in the application had about 10 different images over, I think it was 28 years that are available when you go through the Google Earth satellites. I've updated the new set in front of you that will cover actually 30 years. There's a newer satellite image that just became available. Also in front of you, that might be a little bit simpler, is this document here. This is a simple exhibit that shows only the tree clearing from our limit of disturbance. So those are the two documents I put in front of you. I'll start with the second one first. First sheet just shows the overall plan, and it shows, if you can see it in the light black line, our limit of disturbance, which is just a little bit over 18 acres. There's tree clearing in the northern section and the southern section of this area. So if you go to page 2, the northern section shows in this hatched area. And there's a key to the right. It shows...
Where's that first section at? Can you point that out again?
Yep, you're looking at it.
Yeah, right.
So right here, that's
Right
the
here.
hatched area of tree
Okay.
clearing right next to
Right
the
there,
Phase
okay.
2 project.
Yeah.
So that shows about, or I shouldn't say about, I should say that shows exactly,
1.23.
thank you, 1.23 acres. So that is all planted Christmas trees that were planted in the early 2000s. I spoke with the landowner just this week. Those are Norway spruce that were planted back in the early 2000s. The peer review letter from Mr. Chesia confirms that those are planted species, and they were simply abandoned for the last 20 years because they didn't grow in a shape that the Vopats were happy with. So they just left them. They let them grow. So for better or worse, those trees are there. They were Christmas trees. Now they're very, very big Christmas trees. I'm sure if Neil could sell them to Rockefeller Center, he would, but they're just not of a quality that is harvestable. We need that area for the solar project. That's 1.2-ish acres that are being removed. Whether those are counted as native trees or not, I actually don't mind that much anymore, because as you'll see, the total acreage is below the 10% threshold that the bylaw allows. Page 3 is the last page that I'd like you guys to turn to. Page 3 shows a very small area to the very south of the site that requires some tree clearing. For those of you guys who are out on that site, this is a little bit over a half an acre. It's a strip right along the top of the cliff that drops into our site. This very small strip of trees, about half an acre, we have to clear them because we need to grade that area out so there's not a cliff. There's kind of a nice 3-to-1 return to grade there. It's also, these trees are going to go down this winter or sooner, and there's certainly a safety hazard there, so those trees are coming down. In total, the 2 tree clearing areas, you get to 1.79, 1.8 acres. That's a little less than 10% of the entire 18.2 acre limit of disturbance. So even if you count that 1.25 acres at the north, it's still under the 10% threshold allowable by the bylaw. So I think it was John that said, like, beat this to death for you guys, make it very, very clear, and that's what I hope this exhibit can prove. So in conjunction with this set of 9 satellite images from 1995 all the way through, I think the latest is April of 2025, so almost present day, this spring. What I've outlined for you guys in blue is the entire VOPAT property, the 100+ acre property. In orange, as you can see, is the area of the tree farm. It's pretty clear from that top image that that's the area that they've been actively farming. And then the green, which corresponds right here to the red, so sorry for the color mismatch, but the green is the exact limit of disturbance that I showed on the previous plan, that 18.2 acres. So you can see that this green is almost entirely in the footprint of the traditional farm, with the small exception of that sliver down to the south, which, as I've said, is our native trees. And so as you flip through, you can do it at your leisure, we can talk through it, but as you flip through, you can see this northern area well within the farm. As it moves toward present day, those trees are growing and being abandoned. But you can see as we flip through just the different pockets. He harvests these acres as these other acres grow, and then those are harvested, etc. Basically, what I understand to be typical agricultural standards for a Christmas tree farm like this one. So I'm going to stop there. I'm happy to walk through this nice and slow, or happy to go back to the other one. But in terms of kind of item number 1, the tree clearing, my goal is to show that first and foremost, we're below the 10% threshold, and beyond that, the project footprint from a tree clearing in the last 5 years standpoint has been continuously changing over the past 30 years. So for whatever tree clearing that may or may not be assumed or identified, it would be, well outside of that 5-year prohibition window that the bylaw discusses. So I'm going to stop there and maybe take some questions as we talk through this, or perhaps I'm lucky and you guys are happy with it.
You're lucky, I'm happy with it. No, I really appreciate you going through the 30-year history, because we can see how they evolved, the trees
Awesome.
come and gone over time.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm satisfied, thank you.
Thank you. The rest of the board? Very good.
Do you guys have any other? Hold on one second. Just-
All right, that was supposed to be the hard one. Hopefully I didn't jinx myself. So the next one on the list is stormwater. So I have another exhibit that I'd like to share with you guys that I'll put up on the board as well to consider the stormwater. Put that right there. Yeah. So this is a 2-sheet exhibit, and it's pulled right out of our application material. I just enlarged it and I added some color to make it easier to talk about. All right, so this is expanded up here so we can talk through it, because this is a little bit more of a show and tell. Okay, so we knew from the very first day, even before working with you all, when I was working with the Conservation Commission, when Kim from Mayflower Cranberry came out, it was very clear that she's having water issues on her property, and it's not because of her property, it's because of the existing solar farms. So that was recognized from day one. My discussions with Neil Vopat, my landowner, was, hey, we all want to be a good neighbor here. Zach, you're going to be out there with this project. Fix whatever's going on. That was the direction I got. And we've been kind of trying to fix it and going back and forth with John Chesia on whether or not it is fixed. And that's been kind of the bone of contention. Just between the last meeting and this one, John was able to dig through, John Chesia was able to pull through some old files from 2019 when the Phase 2 project was approved. Since it's been reported to us from Mayflower that since Phase 2 came in, they've been getting a lot of water. Whatever's happening over there is not functioning properly. So over the last 5 years or so. So we went back to those files to try to figure out what the assumptions were made for the stormwater controls for that project. Okay? Before I go into the results of that, I just want to explain this sheet to you right here. So our project, as explained through the tree clearing, is approximately 18.2 acres is the limited disturbance, okay? This total area we studied, because again, Neil said fix Mayflower's problem, is 40.1 acres, okay? Much bigger than our limited disturbance, so we expanded our control area, our watershed area. This entire watershed area is broken up into 6 smaller watersheds. Okay, there are 3 green, 1 blue, 1 orange, 1 orange. So I've added these colors just to help us with this discussion. Okay, the green area up here all drains north. So we know the green area is not going anywhere close to the Mayflower Cranberry property. This represents the northern third of our current project. The blue area all drains to the north-northwest toward the big pond swamp over here. So we know that none of this area drains to the Mayflower property. The orange area drains to the Mayflower property. It's 22, 23 acres total. This is our pre-construction, so our existing conditions plan based on our surveyor going out on site, shooting the topography, everything. And then what our engineers do is they look at the survey, they can see how the water is going to move based on the ridges, the topography, etc. Okay? So the issue being the existing conditions today should match the post-construction assumptions from 2019, right? Obviously they don't. And so the reason that we know they don't is because there's a problem on Mayflower's property. So we just spent the last 2 or 3 days after John Chesia provided us with that information to try to figure out what's going on. So before I jump in there, the next page that you guys should turn to, upside down, hang on. The next page is what is called our post-construction plan. All right, so we put this on top of a satellite image to kind of orient everyone so we can all kind of understand exactly what's what and what's going where. So the total acreage got a little bit bigger just because we expanded a bit. But essentially it's about the same, about 41 acres. What happened was the green area, these 3 kind of smaller areas all continue to flow the same way. As part of our design, in order to control the flows, we put in basin number 1. Okay? There are no open issues with John Chesia with basin number 1. The blue area continues to do exactly what we said it's going to do, or what it has been doing, flowing to the west. We're just smoothing out the grades. We've added a lot of check dams, a lot of the comments from John Schmidt as well as John Chesia, and this continues to flow west and south toward this drainage basin right here. This is drainage basin number 2. There's no issues or contentious items open between Mr. Chesia and our engineers with respect to basin number 2. So what we have here is 14.2 acres of the blue, 6.4 acres of the green, so 20 and a half-ish acres that all flow to 2 stormwater features. That covers our entire project. So our entire project, there's no more contention around that project. Everything we're focused on, the discussions, has been on this orange area. Okay? So I just, like, that context was important, at least to me, when I'm trying to figure this out in kind of a simple manner, to say what's going wrong, what are we arguing about? And ultimately, we're only arguing about the area that's not in our limit of disturbance. There's a very small area down here that's in our limit of disturbance, but that's only because I'm trying to fix things from the other previous projects. And that's where it's appropriate to kind of get back to now John Chesia's information that he pulled from 2019. So we basically found there's 4 material problems when comparing the phase 2. This is the solar project phase 2 right here. This is phase 1. This is phase 2. We're proposing phase 3. There are 4 material problems that we've identified. The first one, and this is kind of in order of how much water is going on in Mayflower Cranberry's property. The first one is that our watershed area is assumed to be 20.56 acres. When you go back to the 2019 stormwater report, it's 11.7 acres. So they assumed 11.7 acres was flowing to the existing basin, and that was based on proposed topography or whatever. Our existing conditions shot by our surveyor tell us that water, and you can see this black line shows the flow, that it's handling, or that basin, that small basin, is trying to handle 2 times as much area. So from 11.7 acres to 20.6 acres. The second thing is that the 2019 assumption was that underneath these arrays, we are going to get, and I'm putting up air quotes, good grass. Good grass is a terminology that's used in stormwater modeling. Instead of that, based on the site walks, our discussions with John Chesia on site, with Mr. Schmid, we're modeling as fair grass. So the difference between the two is about a 20% factor. This is where I need to go to my notes. Is about a 20% factor in the amount and speed of water coming off the site. So now we have twice as much area moving 20% more water, 20% faster. Okay, these are the NRCS curve numbers. Instead of using a 49 for good grass, I have to use a 39. The only difference you guys should worry about is it's 20% worse across twice as much space. Set the last 2 items. The first is that the existing stormwater basin was meant to at least provide some infiltration features. So water goes into the basin, it infiltrates into the ground. When we did our test pits, when we sent our crews out there to dig test pits and find out where groundwater was, we established that that basin, the bottom of that basin is well into the groundwater, which means that there's no infiltration happening. And now the fourth and easiest, the one we started with, is the basin doesn't work. It's not getting serviced, it's not getting operated and maintained in a proper manner. So when you add up those 4 items, and I'm sure there's a couple other little ones, but those are the big ones. Twice as much acreage flowing to the area, flowing faster and at higher volumes, not infiltrating and not being maintained at all. You end up with a scenario that's pushing a lot of untreated water onto the Mayflower property. And that's why Kim was here on day 1, and she was not thrilled, basically saying, hey, this is gonna happen again, it's only gonna get worse if we do more solar. So the 2 things I want to point out is, one, it's not gonna get worse, because none of my project is flowing to that area. But we can make it better. And so that's the big point, is that through overbuilding or completely rebuilding the stormwater features down here, which are more than just digging a hole for the water to go through. All right, we have doubled the size of the basin. It's now properly separated from the groundwater table so that we can achieve and take credit for infiltration. We've added riprap aprons, swales, sediment forebays, all sorts of materials that are gonna help slow and treat any flow of water that goes in that area. And we've designed the basin, if you go into the details, we've got roads, pathways, et cetera, that make that basin maintainable. Even if I was a professional basin maintenance person, I was down there today, you can't get in there. It's all cattails, it's rolled over, you can't get off that access road. We're gonna rebuild that whole area so that it actually can be maintained. So with those 4 items fixed, the stormwater report that you guys have in front of you that matches the latest plan set that we placed in front of you guys in early October, it allows, and this is supposed to be my drum roll here. So currently, a 25-year storm allows what's called 5.5 cubic feet of untreated water per second to flow onto the Mayflower site during a 25-year storm. During a 100-year storm, it increases to 7 cubic feet per second of untreated stormwater. So that water is coming, it's overtopping, it's not even feeling that basin or anything that's there.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the 25 year is what?
5.5 cubic feet of untreated water per second.
And 100 year?
7. All at a single discharge point, not distributed across the entire southern area, all flowing right over that basin. And if you can kind of see just south of that basin is Mayflower Cranberries Reservoir. It's supposed to be there, it's the natural low point. This is high here, this is high here. Everything is flowing to this pinch point. It's exactly why Kim and her family put their reservoir on that exact same spot on the other side of the property. So we're getting our basin flowing into their reservoir, overtopping their reservoir, and I don't think you guys were all on site, but with Conscom, she showed some of the erosion that she's getting. So with all that water flowing to a single point at 25 and 100-year storms, which are happening far more frequently than 25 and 100 years, that's where her complaint is. And with our solution, what's presented in front of you, there's 0 cubic feet of untreated water that's flowing on her property. And that took a lot of engineering, it's gonna take a lot of money to build, and it's outside of our limit of work. And so I wanna say that to make sure that when Kim watches this, I know she's not here, but if we can get to an approval on this project, I want you guys to understand we're putting a ton of energy, effort, and eventually dollars into solving a problem that is existing with the existing solar projects. And I think further, if this board wants to pursue it, because once I touch this basin, it's gonna be mine. Any operations and maintenance requirements that this board's gonna place on this project are gonna live with me. But you guys can also continue to improve by pushing back on these guys to make sure that they can, I don't know, seed properly, work over the next couple years to get some substantial growth. That's only gonna reduce the numbers more because it's gonna get us back toward those curves that were assumed. So there's still some things that this board can do to make it better, but we're able to treat everything now on the site with the design that we proposed for you guys.
I have one question before you ask your question.
Okay.
That 0 cubic feet on your solution, is that during a 5-year storm?
It's for the 25 and the 100, every bit of the water is going to be treated through all these different stormwater features that we put in there.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Yeah, so-
I didn't say the 5 or 10 because.
So I might have got confused there for a moment. When you talk about the 25, and first, I appreciate going through all this effort. And I know it's a bit of work. It's not, I appreciate that. It's not an easy lift.
Great.
When the numbers you shared for the 25-year and the 100-year, though, is that what's happening today?
That's what's happening today.
Today, okay. And when your work is done, those numbers will be reduced to 0.
0.
And that reflects what the original design intent was. We're
Meaning-
pretty close. I mean, you can't get less than 0, but.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked John to, originally when we met a couple weeks ago, I said I'd look at the reports, and I looked at the reports, but I couldn't follow I couldn't follow the logic behind it, because it's just,
If we had
the
it.
charts necessarily meant, it just didn't easily present itself.
That's right.
So instead of me causing brain damage on myself, or more brain damage on myself, I asked John to go back into his files, because he was
Yep.
familiar with this and reviewed it back in 2019.
That's right. And so basically, our original intent, when we spoke with John to find the original files, was to say, hey, let's just find out what they assumed and just understand what the different assumptions were.
Yeah.
And we thought it was gonna have to do with grass or cover type or soils. It didn't. It just, the watershed area, the watershed area is twice the size. And so I don't know the reason why. I can't go all the way back and figure out why. Perhaps they used LiDAR topography as opposed to on-the-ground topography, and they just, more water moved south than they thought. I don't know. But, you know, the topography is always changing out there too, so things could have changed in between permitting and construction. We know those landowners are having fun out there. So things happen, but the goal that we have coming into this is to solve the problem that exists today, not try to prove that we're exempt from something that happened years ago. And we can do that with this design. If we couldn't, I'd be in a much more challenging position where I'd have to shrug my shoulders and say, hey, go after the other guys, I'm clean. But we've got a nice solution here. There's not a lot of space, so we've used almost all of it. You can see all the contours, the riprap, the swales. We've used all the space we have available, and we're just able to get to a treated state for that 100-year storm is obviously the challenging one to work with here.
So does John have this design in front of him now?
He's had it since October.
So this was, okay, so the last submission, which, did we get a report on John from that?
We got a letter, and he kind of deferred to the board on a lot of things, but ultimately, it was, the focus was that on the different sizes of the watersheds, and we were kind of fighting a little bit over like who was right, who was wrong, and then we finally went back to the old files and realized it doesn't matter, it's not apples and apples, it's apples and oranges, and we have to throw out the old design because it doesn't reflect what's there today. And I can't, like, as part of my solutions, I can't go onto this site and hydro seed everything, or go onto this site and ungrade it or regrade it so I can push, you know, the 10 acres or so that are supposed to go this way that are going this way. It just, you can't. So we have to take into account what we surveyed on site, where the water's going, who it's bothering, Mayflower, and figure out a way to fix it. And so I think we're lucky to have the real estate available, and it's jammed in there, but we're lucky to have the real estate available to get Mayflower where they should be. Kind of quiet enjoyment of their property without dealing with whatever's happening. It's gonna look rugged out there. It's gonna have a lot of stone, a lot of big riprap and whatnot, but all those items are meant to slow down the sheet flow, treat the water, etc. Right now, it's, I mean, you guys been out there, there's nothing there, and you can see the big erosion kind of rivers that are flowing south there. So we'll be able to clean all that up as part of the project.
Do you have any more questions on this? Does anyone
What
else?
would be the maintenance plan on maintaining that new structure you built?
It's in this, so on October 8th, our most recent submittal, we got a full new plan set and a full new stormwater report, but there's an operations and maintenance plan within the 300-page stormwater report that talks exactly about how to do it. And I think at one of the first meetings, we had noticed to the board that other towns, to avoid scenarios like are happening now, are placing stormwater bonds on projects that basically say, hey, put your money where your mouth is, put $25,000, $30,000 in a bond or whatever, so that the next time Mayflower comes, and if I don't pick up the phone or the site, across the street that somebody complains about, there's a pile of money there for you guys to notice us, say, hey, you guys are not performing, you're not maintaining your site, it's injuring the neighbor, get out here in 30 days or we're pulling that fund and we'll hire someone to do it. So that kind of stormwater bonding is meant to be a little bit toothier than thou shalt maintain.
You said you gotta build new road stuff down there, you said?
The existing road is here. When we extend that, the existing road all the way already goes up into the site, but we're gonna have to rebuild it because number one, it's eroded over the last 6 years since this project's built. But while we rebuild it, we're gonna armor it properly with all those stormwater features.
And then there's an access around it, so the maintenance involves, mowing it, making sure the trash is removed, clearing obstructions of the pipes. It's actually very simple stuff, but it's really important that it is done. So having the access around it is very important, as it's not there now, as Zach mentioned, so we're providing that. And then there's a maintenance schedule for,
So there will be a maintenance schedule, that we
Yes.
don't have to wait till the neighbor calls and says, hey, we're getting flooded again.
Correct.
So you guys will be maintaining on a 6-month basis once a year.
It's in there, and it's one of the things that John Chesia and our engineers went back and forth on, because obviously you don't have the detail here in the plan that you have, but there's a small access road, there's a walking path all the way around it, like all these features. The storm water basin itself has a backside to it. Instead of just coming over, we had to create quite a wide berm that we could have access, full 360-degree access. So we designed all those features in there, where right now, it's just a hole in the ground that's meant to catch some water, and obviously is not. So that, the maintenance of it has been contemplated, not only in its design, but also in the report that we
How
put.
often will you have to maintain it? That's my question.
It'll be part of the operations and maintenance plan for the whole project.
It's at
So
least yearly.
it's usually twice a year.
Yeah, I guess, that'd be my concern, is the bonds, and if there is an issue, we've got some kind of security that it's gonna be resolved. And then, of course, we kind of, somebody should make sure that these bonds, because we've had it in the past where the bonds have been agreed to and never even purchased, or we've never seen them, so we'd like to cross some of these Ts and dot the Is, for lack of better words.
So we'll make sure that that's a
Yeah.
condition.
And of course, enough of a bond amount to make sure that we can correct any problem.
That's right, so they submitted the maintenance plan, and John Chesia looked at the maintenance plan. So the condition would be that they have to comply with the maintenance plan, and then we can talk about a bond.
Okay.
All right, so that's what I have for kind of item number 2. And intentionally saving the easiest for last. I think the last was effective ground cover. Concerns about the organics on site. Basically concerned about replicating or not replicating what happened on site 2, which is basically everyone assumed it was going to be good grass. I'm sure some good seed was planted, but nobody put the time and the effort to kind of cultivate this area so that it actually achieved, capital G, good grass to meet the stormwater standards. So what we've modeled throughout the whole site, first of all, is fair grass. So we're not taking any credit for something that's impossible to reach or is going to be really hard to reach. So we've kind of sandbagged a little bit there, such that the better performance we get, the better the stormwater is going to perform on our site. So we've basically been conservative in modeling for our site. But ultimately, you know, we've talked about this. I think there is landscaping bonding required by the town's bylaw. At first, I had assumed landscaping was like arborvitae, like screening, but John and I think this board confirmed to me at one of the first meetings that landscaping is meant to not only cover any screening, we don't have any, but if there was, but also the stabilization of grass beneath the panels. So that would be another line of protection to say, hey, Zach, grass ain't growing. If I don't pick up the phone, you've got money already that I've had to provide so that it could be. The second point, beyond the like, I'm putting my money where my mouth is comment, is that just because something happened over here doesn't mean it's gonna happen over here either. I think, you know, this board, bylaws have changed, requirements have changed, understanding of these projects has changed a lot. We put together what's called a vegetation management plan. It's a lot more than any project has done, and certainly in this area has done. So the vegetation management plan is part of the application package. It would be part of the approval, similar to the O&M plan that has its own similar to the stormwater report that has its O&M requirements for maintaining the stormwater features. The vegetation management plan has a maintenance protocol to make sure everything's growing and stabilizing properly. Also make sure for our production standpoint, things aren't growing too high where they're shading the modules. So a typical twice-a-year visit includes mowing of the grass underneath the panels. It'll include servicing of the stormwater features and then a general check on the electrical systems to make sure they're working right. We don't have critters nesting behind the arrays, anybody nibbling through the warm wires, that type of thing. But that's kind of the big 3 items that are checked by the O&M team as these guys move through twice a year for the 20-year period or so.
What exactly did you call that particular operations and maintenance with respect to the planting?
It's called a VMP, a Vegetation Management Plan, and that's been provided as part of the project. That vegetation management plan was revised as part of the October 8th package that incorporated all of John's comments. So you guys have a new plan set, a new corresponding stormwater set, and a new corresponding vegetation management plan. And those were all noted and in that list of documents that I provided.
What is your ground cover?
Seed mix?
What's your, so seed mix over what? 4 inches along, 6 inches along, 1 inch along?
It's what's available. So there's a huge loam pile here. Basically, when they started clearing the southern and the middle area, they pushed all the loam pile. The existing loam has remained on site the whole time. So as we regrade, we're going to respread all that loam. I don't know the exact depth it's going to be, but what I'm saying, it's going to be sufficient for the seed mix to meet our ground cover that we're committing to. And we're putting a landscape on to back that up. And, you know, we've got a lot more topsoil. There was no topsoil left on this site too. And that if you did a kind of post-mortem on their grass growth, like I did on their stormwater, I bet I'd find that there's not enough organics left on site. But we know that the organics are on site here.
You just don't know if it's enough to give you 1 inch of cover or 4 inches of cover.
Nothing's been removed, so I'd say it is what was there, but I
you
can't say
tell me
that it's
if
between
So if you
2
put
and
1 inch of loam down and cover with seed, with the slopes that you're proposing, you're gonna be maintaining that, and we'll be having another conversation, calling you out there and pulling on your bond to tell you you need to maintain that. That's a risk you're asking, and so that's a burden you're putting on the board, in a sense.
I'd say it's a burden I'm putting on myself, but
Yeah, I mean, if it's avoidable by just specking 4 inches of loam, if it means you gotta bring some loam in, then do it. Instead of putting the burden on yourself, but you're willing to roll the dice that you may have 1 inches or 4 inches.
I just think roll a dice is a little more cavalier than we're being here. I think,
You know how big your pile is, right? You can easily determine the volume of that pile. You know how much square footage is, volume divided by square footage gives you a depth.
yep. And
It's an easy calculation.
in order to do that, I just need to commit to the quality of the materials in that pile. That's where it gets a little tricky. I've had that exact same conversation with our engineers.
Yeah.
And they're just careful to say, like, Zach, we don't want to overcommit and underdeliver here. But, you know, I think we can roughly say there's I mean, at least 2 inches of loam. I don't know how to memorialize that with this board, but certainly sufficient for us to meet the vegetation
Yeah, I
management
think we'll be
plan.
having this conversation 6 months after you put this on.
Yeah, wouldn't it make more sense to just know exactly how thick you need that loom to be versus guessing and hoping you got enough? Is it 2 inches, is it 4 inches? So we're basically saying it's gonna be whatever you have available to put down and hope for the best?
And it's all, whatever, and with those slopes, it's gonna wash down, and you're gonna fill up your basin with it. Boom.
I don't disagree that I don't have the answer for you right now. I just haven't done the deep dive on loam, organic material that I did on the tree clearing. And,
But,
yep.
So you have a loam pile, right? And you can determine its value, you can tell us, if all the loam is good, we're gonna have 2 inches or 3 inches. But if you go out there and half the loam is garbage, then you purchase some loam. And don't make us have this conversation a year from now or 2 years from now when everything is constructed. Just do it right the first time.
Okay, so how does that work right now?
You promise that you're gonna provide 3 to 4 inches of loam and seed cover on the entire disturbed area. And I don't particularly care how you get there. You can use what's on site, you can buy some and bring it in. But you need to provide a nice secure cover that's strong enough to allow grass to grow. Or we're gonna be having the same conversation in 2 years that we're having now about the other basin.
Well, it won't be the same conversation.
It'll be
Because
similar.
first of all, I'm not assuming good grass, I'm assuming fair. So I've tried to be conservative.
Okay, yeah. And that helps you in your stormwater management, but it doesn't provide you ground cover.
Yep.
It doesn't mitigate erosion.
I mean, just the car salesman in me wants to say, if you want 4, I don't know how much is 4.
It's like, I'll give a
That's
rule,
scary,
it's, you
Ron.
know, it's like.
I know that. I don't know
Okay.
how much I need. And I'm not,
Well, I mean,
if you looked at my
how-
backyard, you wouldn't be thrilled. So I'm the
Well,
last person that wants to commit.
We've come a long way, but this is the third point that I raised last week, and I
Yeah.
don't think it's been addressed properly.
All right. Then if you guys want to put a condition, as Mr. Schmidt has recommended, of 3 to 4 inches of loam across the site,
Are we voting to?
whether we get it or
I
not.
would like to vote.
I'd like to close the hearing, have a conversation with John Chesia to make sure that the promises that I was told tonight are correct, without having to read every little detail of his multi-page letter. and come
Why
back.
do we have to close tonight then? If you need to have more conversation.
Well, no, hold on.
Yeah.
We gotta finish this one
Sure.
point here, so,
But I understand, I've been doing this for a long time, I understand the desire to get to the finish line. And I also know that I'm not available on December 2nd. So if you want to proceed with conditions,
Yeah.
I'm not going to object. It's just concerns.
yeah, so, okay.
If I could just, would that condition on the cover address the concern on the cover?
Yes, I believe so.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
double check that.
Yeah. Because I know
If we're agreeing
much
to
better,
that.
much better chance of success if you have 4 inches along instead of 1 inch along. So if we just nail that number down and agree to it, I'm good.
We're shooting a little bit blind, but we'll agree to that as a condition if the board.
So are you telling us how much you think should go down in order to make this work, or are you just saying you're gonna use what you have?
I'm
That's where I'm a
saying-
little confused.
So I'm saying there's enough on site to not only, to do what I promised I'm doing.
To what thickness, though? An inch, 2 inch?
It's
John's
just
saying-
my vocabulary experience just doesn't get there right now without my engineer to
Right.
confirm. But if 4 inches from an engineer that's more qualified than me is an appropriate amount to meet the grass standards that we're all looking for, I'll agree to the 4 inches. If I get back and there's a huge problem, I have to import more inches to get there. And it's just throwing dollars at the problem on my side, but if that's the.
I'm just looking for the correct answer. Is it 1 inch, is it 4 inches? Sounds like John believes we need 4
I mean,
inches.
just
and-
typical landscape practice
Yeah.
is 4 inches.
Okay, so, but we're saying 4 inches should be the right number, but you're saying you're not sure if it's gonna be 1 or 2 inches based on what you have on the site. Is that
No,
I think what
correct?
he's
That's not
saying
what
is
I'm
he
saying.
doesn't know what is out there because they haven't investigated exactly
Right.
specifically what the depth is in that area. But correct me if I'm misstating, but if we make it a condition that there has to be 4 inches and he goes
I
out there,
understand
hold
what
on,
you're
and there's
saying.
only
What
2
were you-
inches,
what were
he's
you
gonna bring in
proposing?
more.
You weren't proposing 4, you were just proposing whatever's there. It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, what
So
what
I'm
does it
not.
need to be? What do you think it should be? I
So-
guess that's my question.
So first, I'm not qualified to think anything.
Okay.
Second, I'm committing to make sure that, so imagine the grass is the finished product. I'm committing to get there, by hell or high water. I will get there. And John, Mr. Schmidt is saying that that's not good enough. We need to be more specific. And I'm agreeing that I will commit to 4 inches of
I'm
organic
comfortable
loam.
with that.
Mhm.
I just don't know, and like I said, it was.
No, I'm just
it was
confused
the-
of what should be or what
Yeah,
you're
I mean,
proposing,
one of
so I
the-
just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
We are.
And there's some variabilities with the seed mixture and what's the appropriate amount of loam, so the condition does get us to a point that
Okay, so
we have an
conditions of
answer.
4 inches.
Mhm.
Okay.
He did say 3 to 4. I think he said 3 to 4.
I got to show my hearing at
What do you-
it.
I just want flexibility. I'm scared now. I can't even, it'll be the last thing I tell my engineer when I walk out of here.
So, all right, so we're gonna get to that when we get to it.
3.5 to 4.
Thank you. Just agreed. Final.
All right, but I'm gonna come back to you when we get to that point, because I want to make sure that's phrased correctly. Okay. Hold on one second. Okay. Is there anything else that you had on that particular point, or we covered that one?
I think understanding that that condition would satisfy, would close that point. I was hoping it was just the bond, but I'm happy with that condition as well.
Okay. Do you guys have any further questions for the applicant?
We got a bond in place. It's maintained.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to do the best we can.
Is there anything else that you want to present or provide?
No, you have all the information from us.
Okay. So, we can close this public hearing if there's no one from the public that wishes to make a comment.
In regards to this project?
In
or-
regards to this project
Yeah.
specifically. Okay. And you guys, you're adamant you have no further questions? All right. Okay. Then I am going to move that we close the public hearing with respect to the Zero Brook Street solar expansion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And we note for the record that Mr. Cohen has recused himself from this proceeding because he knows the property owner. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the waiver requests. And then we're going to do the vote on the actual project. And then we're going to do the conditions.
Okay.
Okay? So, the first waiver request is to waive the requirement for a landscaping plan from section 4.7, because they're not actually proposing any additional landscaping, because none is required, because no one can see this at all. So I move that we, well, actually.
Can we amend that just to say except for appropriate ground cover, because landscape?
But this is the landscaping, this is the requirement for the landscaping plan submission
itself.
stamped
Okay.
by the landscape
Okay.
architect.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion of this request? Have any comments? All right, so I move that we waive the requirement for a landscape plan. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. The next waiver request is to waive the requirement for an elevation and facade treatment plan of proposed buildings, because there are no buildings, so they should not be required to submit that. This is a waiver of section 4.10, so I move that we grant the requested waiver. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. The third waiver request is a request to waive the requirement at section 4.11, information on the location, size, and type of parking, loading, storage, and service areas, because there aren't any proposed, so they shouldn't be required to submit that information. So I move that we grant the requested waiver of section 4.11. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The fourth waiver request is the request to waive section 4.15, the development impact statement. I note that the other solar projects that we have approved, we have not required this, because this is really required more for a building and an actual commercial project. So is there any further discussion on this waiver request? Okay. So I move that we waive section 4.15, the development impact statement requirement. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so it's unanimous. And lastly, is a request to waive section 4.22, the requirement for a traffic study. Again, this is commonly waived. We waived it for all the other solar projects because there's no traffic. It just exists. Is there any further discussion?
Any turtles walking through?
All right, so I move that we waive section 4.22. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. So we're gonna just press pause for 1 second before we get to the next thing. All right,
I was just gonna ask, I think there were a photometric plan waiver and a waiver for existing and proposed buildings.
I did the buildings. Did I miss the photometric plan?
4.21.
Oh, I must have missed it. Okay, valid point.
And then I was curious, the bylaw allows the reduced setbacks that we requested, but I wasn't sure if that's technically a waiver.
That one we wouldn't do as a waiver.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, that was 4.21 for the photometric plan. Okay, so, there's no light sources, there's no lighting really associated with this project, so it would be appropriate to grant this waiver, in my opinion. Is there any further discussion? Okay, so I move that we waive section of 4.21, the requirement to submit a photometric plan. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And now, just for a brief moment, we're going to take a 5-second pause because I feel terrible. So you just want to give the bond.
Thank you. I didn't want to interrupt, but
I know.
yeah, I was going to interrupt, but I didn't want to be rude. That's, those are bonds. Speaking of bonds, 2 original bonds. You wanted them last time. I think my UPS didn't arrive in time, but
Is he,
That's right.
is he a part of the meeting tonight? Can we talk to him about Main Street still?
No, we can't. He's
Better get out of
leaving.
here fast. Watch it.
Maybe
You're talking
like, yeah,
about me.
We'll ask
You
him
keep
to come
promising me
back
to block
another
that off,
day. This was just, he just was here to submit the actual physical bonds.
When you coming back,
Didn't
again, I
have-
like talking to you.
whenever you want to see me, Paul, I'm your
I just want to see
huckleberry.
some sprinting on 58.
Yeah. You know what? Rear section still needs fencing. That's my note
Fencing, there you go.
from October 21st. That's
So
what you're
this,
looking for.
we're all set with this now.
You good with me? Okay, thank you for taking me out. All
It's
right.
we're gonna be here for a while. and I
Yeah,
just-
all right, yeah, okay, I got that sense. Thank you very much. Paul, I will get back to you on that. Okay, I promise. Thank you, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay.
The bond is for Mayflower or for,
It's for, the one that came into the cranberry
remote,
bogs.
okay.
Yeah. The one that we changed the fencing, they had
Yes.
to change the fencing. Okay, just one moment for 1 second. Okay. So, all right, so next, we have a couple of findings. So after the public hearing, I think we can find that, subject to appropriate conditions, the project would be consistent with section 6.10 of the bylaw. They've provided documentation of the prospective control of the project site. They've, the project site itself doesn't have frontage on a public way, but the access has been provided over the internal roadways at the site, so they've presented that. They've agreed to provide the financial surety to address the decommissioning costs. They've agreed to address the stormwater issue that the abutters raised, which granted is from a project that isn't their project, so get some credit for that. We don't have a landscape screening issue with this project.
Should say hallelujah.
As conditioned, the project will comply with applicable local, state, and federal requirements. As conditioned, there's going to be liability insurance. That's another one of our factors. And I think the requests for waivers that they've asked for from the setbacks are appropriate because they're not, I mean, it is not in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
It is not. Okay, so, given the fact that they tick the boxes as required in 6.10, I move that we grant site plan approval for the construction of a ground-mounted photovoltaic electric generating facility and associated appurtenant infrastructure as depicted on the project plans, last revised on October, sorry. Sixth, 2025. Subject to the following conditions, which the planning board finds are necessary to mitigate impacts related to the construction, maintenance, operation, and decommissioning of the projects. So first, we'll vote that general statement, and then we'll do the conditions in blocks. Does that work for everybody? Okay. So that was my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Right.
Okay, so that's 4 with 1 recused. All right, so here are the conditions. First, we'll do the general conditions. All work is to be done in accordance with the aforementioned record plans and must be in conformance with good industry practices. Any changes, revisions, or modifications to the plans as approved herein shall require approval by the planning board. Non-substantive changes as determined by the planning board may be approved by the planning board at a regularly scheduled public meeting. Substantive changes may be approved by the planning board through a public hearing process. The provisions of this approval and conditions shall be binding upon every owner or owners as shown on the plan, and the executors, administrators, heirs, successors, and assigns of such owners, and the obligations and restrictions therein set forth shall run with said land in full force and effect for the benefit of and enforceable by the town of Plympton. Town of Plympton officials, the town administrator, and the planning board shall be notified by certified mail 30 days prior to any change of ownership of the property, leaseholder, and/or operating company, including but not limited to any sale, transfer, or assignment of the permit, other than an assignment of the permit to a mortgagee pursuant to financing. Said notice must include the address and a contact person for the transferee. Within 30 days of such notice, the new party shall arrange to meet with the planning board at a regularly scheduled meeting to review the operating conditions of the site plan approval. All surety bonds and other financial and legal documents will be immediately updated at the time of transfer to reflect the new ownership or operating interests. This site plan approval shall lapse after 2 years from the date it is filed by the planning board with the town clerk if substantial use has not commenced. Such approvals may, for good cause, be extended in writing by the planning board to a date certain upon the written request of the applicant. Is there any discussion on the first 5 conditions? Okay, I move that we adopt the first 5 conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, prior to construction. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, all invoices generated by the planning board's peer reviewer shall have been paid in full. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall provide documentation to the building department that the project area is not in or has been removed from any Chapter 61 designations. And all then due property taxes, including rollback taxes and municipal fees, shall have been paid, and all tax accounts are in good standing. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, applicants shall enter into, here's a question for this one, actually. I pause and I ask a question of the applicant. Are you doing a pilot agreement with the town?
It's unknown at this time for all projects I've done. The town has entered into a pilot, but it's kind of, I'm at the mercy of a counterparty if they'd like to do it or not.
Okay. So in the past, we've mandated that they enter into a pilot agreement with the town, but that, we don't control whether the Board of Selectmen will agree to do that or not. Previous boards of selectmen have wanted to do that, but this is a new board, and I don't know
We
if
don't have 2 members.
they only have 2 members, and I don't know what they would want to do. So I don't want to condition the applicant's approval on them entering into something if this Board of Selectmen isn't interested in doing it. That would be unfair to the applicant. It would create a condition that they can't satisfy.
Okay.
Okay, so we're not going to include that
We'll get
condition.
taxes
then.
other ways.
Correct. Okay. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall ensure that any signage required to notify the neighborhood of construction traffic has been posted. So wherever you're gonna have your construction entrance or exit, we would like there to be signage so that there's no accidents. Applicant is responsible for the costs associated with said signage. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, applicant shall deliver a certificate of insurance naming the town of Plympton as an additional insured, which certificate must conform to the certificate provided in the applicant's application for site plan review. The applicant is advised to obtain all other necessary permits from any other town departments or boards. All applicable local, state, and federal permits and approvals must be in place prior to the start of construction and operations. If a stormwater management permit or order of conditions is required for the project, a copy of any final and approved permit or order of conditions issued by the Plympton Conservation Commission and/or any superseding order as the case may be, with all appeals resolved or otherwise terminated, shall be submitted to the planning board and shall be incorporated herein by reference. Prior to commencing any construction or site work, the applicant shall reference this decision on the plan, record this decision with the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds with the plan, and provide evidence of such recording to the planning board. Prior to commencing any construction or site work, a stormwater pollution prevention plan shall be prepared and submitted in accordance with the recommendation of the planning board's consulting engineer and provided for his review. Applicant shall pay any costs associated with this review by the planning board's consulting engineer. A copy of the stormwater pollution prevention plan and the EPA National Discharge Elimination System construction general permit shall be submitted to the planning board and building inspector before the start of construction. The GCP must conform to the recommendations made by the planning board's consulting engineer during the site plan review process. Reports required under the GCP shall be transmitted electronically to the planning board. The limits of work shown on the approved plan shall be staked out in the field by a professional land surveyor. Orange construction fencing or an approved equivalent shall be installed at the limits of work. Property boundaries, excluding rights of way, shall be staked by a professional land surveyor where work is proposed within 10 feet of the boundary. Prior to the start of construction, a performance surety bond in the amount of $25,000 shall be issued with the town of Plympton named as the beneficiary. The purpose of this bond is to ensure adequate financial resources to restore the project area to a stable condition should construction not be completed. Upon satisfactory completion of construction, the construction bond will be released. Satisfactory completion of construction shall be a project that has all major components in place, all site work completed, and all construction permits, conservation, building, electrical, etc., properly closed out or in compliance with all regulations and requirements. Prior to the start of construction, a construction decommissioning bond in the amount of $327,279, which is based on the applicant's certified estimate plus 25%, as allowed by the zoning bylaw, section 6.10.5.7.3, shall be issued with the town of Plympton named as the beneficiary. This surety is to be retained until such time as the project is no longer functioning and decommissioning is required. Any discussion on those conditions?
And that's every 5 years, those have to be renewed.
It depends on what the bond says.
All right, so I know some of them, they were just for 5 years for some reason.
Sometimes they were.
Okay.
I could see what,
Especially decommission, we want to make sure that's intact.
that's correct. No discussion on those conditions?
I just had one question. I was trying to follow along. The 327,000, is it clear in your condition that that includes the 25% contingency?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Based on the applicant's certified estimate of $261,823 plus 25%. I took it from your,
I just want to make sure the plus didn't imply that we had to add another 25%.
yeah, no,
which
it's the
in-
total, that's the
Thank you.
total.
Okay.
Oh, we're straight shooting.
Well, I'll forget when it's written down and when somebody does the math.
Yeah. Okay, so I move conditions 6 through 16. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
So that's unanimous. Construction and operation conditions. Nuisance. The applicant is responsible to ensure that nuisance conditions not necessarily limited to the following do not exist in and around the site as a result of the construction or operation of the facility. The applicant shall at all times use all reasonable measures to minimize inconvenience to residents in the general area. Hours. The proposed facility is a solar generating facility and therefore will be producing electricity during daylight hours. Hours of operation, including the scheduling of deliveries and commercial truck traffic, is allowed only between the hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday, and 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Sundays. Hours of construction shall be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., no operations on Sunday, no operation of machinery for warm-up or maintenance outside of above hours, no construction operations to occur on New Year's Day, Easter Sunday, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day. Emergency repairs and maintenance, including snow plowing, may occur at any time. Dust. The applicant shall implement dust control operations in an approved manner whenever necessary or when directed by the planning board, even though other work on the project may be suspended. Methods of controlling dust shall meet all air pollutant standards as set forth by state and federal regulatory agencies. Noise. The applicant shall implement measures to ensure that noise does not exceed acceptable levels as set forth by federal and state regulatory agencies. The applicant shall cease any excessively loud activities when directed by the planning board. No pile driving, post installation, or other excessively loud activities are permitted on Sundays and prior to 8 a.m. or after 4 p.m. on Monday through Saturday. Vibration. The applicant shall implement all necessary controls to ensure that vibration does not create a nuisance or hazard for any property abutters. Traffic. The applicant shall implement necessary traffic safety controls to ensure a safe and convenient vehicular access in and around the site. Any traffic issues that occur as a result of site operations and construction shall be mitigated immediately at the expense of the applicant. Additional traffic mitigation measures may be required as necessary or as directed by the planning board. The applicant shall ensure safe and convenient vehicular access to the project site during the entire duration of the project. No parking or queuing of vehicles will be allowed on the adjacent streets. Sorry, I had a typo. During the construction period. If deemed necessary by the building inspector, a traffic director will be provided to manage traffic during the construction period. Query for the board, do we think that that's actually going to be necessary, or do you want to eliminate that traffic during construction?
It's pretty far off the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is pretty far off the road. All right, so I will delete that from our previously required conditions. Okay. Roads. The access driveway to the project shall be kept in good condition during the life of the project. The applicant is responsible for the removal of snow and sanding of the internal roadways on the project as necessary to permit access for emergency vehicles during winter months. Glare. Any glare impacting any abutters shall be mitigated by the applicant or current operator in cooperation with state and local officials. Complaints. All complaints related to the above or otherwise must be brought to the attention to the planning board as necessary. Any complaints that in the opinion of the planning board are found to be repetitive in nature and continue with no mitigation may constitute a violation of these conditions and may be grounds for a stop order or a partial stop order. The access gates to the project site shall be kept locked with a key box to allow access by public safety officials. The fire department shall set the location of the key box. Access keys will be provided to the Plympton Fire and Police Department. All fencing, gates, etc. shall be a dark earth tone color such as a dark green, black, dark red, etc. The fence surrounding the perimeter of the array shall have appropriate signs posted along the fence line as a warning that it is an electrical facility.
Sorry, can you read that one more time?
Sure. All fencing, gates, etc. shall be a dark earth tone color such as dark green, black, dark red, etc. The fencing surrounding the perimeter of the array shall have appropriate signs posted along the fence line as a warning that it is an electrical facility.
The first part referencing the coloring of the fence, is that appropriate for this site? I think our intent is we had approved the woven wire fence. Sometimes the chain link fence can be dipped and colored, but the woven wire cannot be colored.
I thought that it already was black. It's not already black?
I think it's metal colored.
Where's this fence gonna be located?
It's just around the array.
Yeah.
No one's gonna see it except them.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was left over from a,
I thought it was already black, so that's why I put it
Maybe
in.
it was chain link, right, John?
But, all right, I have no one is gonna see the fence, so I don't have a particular wedding to that. I put it in because I thought it already was black, but I guess I was wrong.
I'm fine with that.
All right, so we'll delete that. So then it's just that the fencing shall have appropriate signs.
Signage.
thank you.
Sure. Um, The access ways, the solar array, and, sorry, the access ways, the solar array, the stormwater system, and the grass beneath panels shall be properly maintained throughout the life of the project. Stumps that are encountered or created from the construction activities shall be removed from the ground and ultimately removed from the property. Burial of any stumps or wood debris on site is strictly forbidden. And now we need your condition. There shall be 3 1/2 to 4 inches of loam
Yeah,
Mhm.
loam and seed
beneath the panels.
on all disturbed areas.
Okay.
That's not serving as an access road.
Or the stormwater basin.
The basin itself probably has its own planting plan, right? Yeah, so the basin could be.
All right, so there shall be 3 1/2 to 4 inches of loam on all disturbed areas that are not serving as access roads or the stormwater basins.
The loam shall be seeded with appropriate seedlings for this environment.
Maybe as described in the vegetation management plan. So we can link
Okay,
that.
that works.
Okay, so let me just read that again so that I make sure I have it right. There shall be 3 1/2 to 4 inches of loam on all disturbed areas that are not serving as access roads or the stormwater basins. The loam shall be seeded with an appropriate seed mix as described in the vegetation management plan submitted by the applicant. Yes.
Good, good.
And
Okay.
then add the word final, the final vegetation management plan.
How many are there?
There was an original revision and a second
Okay.
revision.
Okay, got it. All right. After the building permit is issued and until the completion of construction, applicant shall provide the planning board with monthly reports on the status of construction operations and site stabilization for 1 year after mechanical completion of the array. Applicant shall provide such reports on a quarterly basis. All emergency contact information and emergency procedures will be available and posted on premises for access by public safety officials who may have to respond to this location for an incident. Members of the planning board shall be permitted access to the project site during construction with proper notification to the applicant or its contractor via a telephone number provided by applicant to the planning board, subject to applicable safety requirements as established by the applicant or its contractor. The applicant shall annually deliver to the planning board and the town administrator a certificate of insurance naming the town of Plympton as an additional insured. The certificate shall conform to the certificate provided in the applicant's site plan review application. Okay, is there any further discussion on these conditions?
There was a section there, I think you might have said monthly and quarterly reporting to the planning board.
Yeah, that one is
Just after the.
after, for a year, after it's been done for a year, it's quarterly.
So for
It's
the first
monthly
year.
while you're constructing it, and then afterwards it's quarterly.
Okay.
There's commas in the text.
No problem. The one other item, I think, unless are you done with the conditions? I don't
Do we
want-
want to add stormwater bond, put that in there?
That's in the next section.
Okay.
Perfect.
Landscaping bond also in
In the
it?
next section.
We're all thinking about it, good.
Yeah,
That's what I was gonna bring up.
We're almost done. So this is conditions 17 through 26. Is there any further discussion on conditions 17 through 26? Okay, I move that we adopt conditions 17 through 26. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Prior to completion. Prior to the issuance of a use certificate, certified as-built site plans, and a written certification by a professional engineer noting any discrepancies between the actual construction and the approved plans shall be stamped by the engineer. The as-built site plans must depict, I struck that, forget that. These certifications that construction was completed in accordance with the approved site plan shall be submitted to the planning board for review and approval before a use certificate may be issued. The applicant shall reimburse the planning board for engineering and consulting services to review and verify that the as-built plans conform to the approved site plan. A compliance letter will be issued forthwith once found to be properly completed. Prior to the issuance of a use certificate, the applicant must provide the project's effective operations and maintenance plan, inclusive of contact information to the planning board and building inspector. Any commercially sensitive information may be redacted. Changes in contact information for site response or operations and maintenance must be updated, and notice sent to the planning board and the building inspector within 30 business days of any said change. Prior to the issuance of a use certificate, applicant shall inform in writing the planning board and the building inspector of any type changes to installed equipment prior to said equipment being altered or replaced. Prior to the issuance of a use certificate, but after facility construction has been completed, a site walk shall be organized with town safety personnel to familiarize themselves with the facility layout and operation. Prior to the issuance of a use certificate, the applicant shall provide the planning board with, how do we want to quantify the amount of the bond that we would ask for the grass?
Oh,
For what?
the landscaping bond for the grass, stabilization of the grass.
So for the landscaping bonds that we have required, where the landscaping was shrubberies,
All right.
Yeah.
we have asked for a statement of the cost to install the
Yep.
shrubberies. This is a different scenario.
So this would be involving if there's additional dirt that needs to be brought in, plus the grass itself.
If there's something wrong with the grass and work needs to be done and make sure the grass is growing correctly. So normally, I would have this say with an affidavit, that the applicant will give us an affidavit saying how much it costs to install the grass, but that does not seem like a reasonable thing, because if they have to bring in a lot of loan, the cost to install the grass would be more, significantly more than what we would want for a bond.
Okay.
So,
Well, just the entire parcel is 18.1 acres. And that's 788,000 square feet. So what's a square foot of loam and seed cost? I mean, you say 50, the numbers are crazy. You say 50 cents, it's 300, it's a $400,000 bond for loam and seed, which is ridiculous.
yeah, I don't think we need that.
If you say 15 cents a square foot, it's 120,000.
I mean, I just,
We get it
previous,
back if we don't use it, right?
yes, they get it back if it doesn't.
And is it a
get
cash
used.
bond or is it just a, or is it a bank?
I was doing a performance bond.
So that, no cash out of pocket? just
Yeah.
buying it.
All right, then do 125.
Then it's not cash out, then they're just purchasing it.
I will query of the applicant, does that seem like a reasonable methodology for computing this bond?
I think it depends on when it's released. I think to the point that it is a bond, the number I pay, for a bond, I have to pay an annual premium on the bond. So in theory, we hit the completion of construction, we're waiting for this grass to stabilize. This bond is in place until the building inspector, a representative from Plympton, confirms that the grass has reached it, right? Like,
Well, you have an order of conditions, right? So you need a certificate of compliance.
yes,
At which point the commission would hopefully walk that and determine that everything is stabilized.
that's right.
We could set it for a term. You
That's
know,
what
we-
we're trying to get to.
We could set it for a term, and we could have it be released.
One growing season after completion.
Can I see that letter? I just wanted to look at the decommissioning and see if there's a line item for grass. That's in the number.
Okay, so we don't, so, how did you compute that again? Tell me again.
Square footage of the site's 18.1 acres, which is 788,000 square feet, times 15 cents per square foot, ended up at about $120,000. 118.
So if we were to do that, and then if we were to say that it had to be a performance bond in the amount of $120,000 to ensure that there is adequate grass cover beneath the panels on the project site, is that an accurate description?
Adequate grass coverage and adequate grass coverage in the required areas, because we went beyond just, I'm sure it's the 800 panels.
Okay, so to ensure that there's
And
adequate grass.
adequate grass coverage in the previously disturbed areas.
For a period of is kind of the most important thing for
Yeah.
us.
Okay. Said bond to be released. On the first anniversary of the issuance of the use certificate.
Okay.
Because you get the use
And-
certificate at the end.
Yeah.
Provided,
Satisfactory.
right, provided there's a site walk to.
Yeah.
you get-
Yeah.
Satisfactory.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So from a concept standpoint, we do our construction, we make our plantings. We're all acknowledging I can't get my use permit until the grass is grown, and then the bond will exist for another year to make sure the grass doesn't die.
Mhm.
Okay.
You
Yep.
can, I mean, technically, I don't know how, it's the building inspector that issues the use permit, but as long as all of the conditions are met,
That's right.
I would be surprised if the building inspector is going to wait and see if the grass has actually grown. So this would be, you complete your construction, you provide your documentation to the building inspector, he issues you the use certificate, and then 1 year after that,
That's acceptable.
so it's not, he's not gonna judge your grass.
That's right.
So,
Good.
I agree.
okay.
And it has to be in place when?
Prior,
to completion?
prior to issuing the use certificate.
Okay, that makes sense to us. Thank you.
Sure. Provided there's a site walk with the planning board to determine, to confirm that the grass coverage has been met. Okay, so let me just read this off, because this is a new one, just to make sure I have this correct. Prior to the issuance of a use certificate, the applicant shall provide the planning board with a performance bond in the amount of $120,000 to ensure that there is adequate grass coverage in the previously disturbed areas.
We would say
How about
Where-
how about just say in the disturbed areas?
disturbed areas.
In the disturbed areas.
In the disturbed areas where grass is required.
Yeah, oh, you are.
Said bond to be released on the first anniversary of the issuance of the use certificate, provided there is a site walk with the planning board to confirm that the grass coverage requirement has been met.
Satisfied with that, correct.
Has been satisfied, that's fine. Okay. That was easy. Next is the same scenario. Prior to the issuance of a use certificate, we're gonna want a bond for the stormwater system. So how should we quantify that? That's just to ensure that there's operations and maintenance if,
For the life of the project, right?
yeah, but it doesn't have to, it wouldn't be that amount of money, it would be less than that.
So it's a performance bond that would be,
Just to, in case the operations
Right,
and
but-
maintenance of the stormwater management system is not performed, and we would have to do it ourselves, there would be a bond that we could draw from to do it.
So that's at 25, 30 is what some of the towns have been holding?
That's the highest we've seen. Acushnet is the town that we've used that I mentioned that I use as a proxy for this. And I think a smaller site, it's really one basin that we're worried about. And because it's for the life of the project, I kind of asked for some discretion on the cost there, but I think something in the $20,000 range feels comfortable with me.
I defer.
25.
I defer. All right. Previously, where we've done it for landscape screening, we did it, the amount of the landscaping cost with a 2% escalator over time. So if we just give you 25 straight, you're skipping the escalator at least.
That's fair.
In 10 years, you clean the structure.
Okay, so prior to the issuance of a use certificate, the applicant shall provide the planning board with a performance bond in the amount of $25,000 to ensure that the stormwater operations and maintenance as required by the operations and maintenance plan are performed.
I think we'd want to refer to the stormwater report.
Oh, change that? Okay, stormwater report are performed. All right, let me read that back again. Sorry, typo. Prior to the issuance of a use certificate, the applicant shall provide the planning board with a performance bond in the amount of $25,000 to ensure that the stormwater operations and maintenance as required by the stormwater report are performed. Okay, does that work for everybody? Okay. Are there any comments on conditions 27 through 33?
That's not the end, right?
There's one more. Okay, decommissioning. In the event the project is permanently shut down and no longer functions as a solar energy source, the site shall be decommissioned as described below. Notice to commence shutdown or non-function shall be given to the planning board 30 days prior to the proposed date of shutdown or non-functioning taking effect. A formal decommissioning plan shall be provided to the planning board for review and approval prior to the commencement of decommissioning activities. Are there any comments with respect to conditions 34 and 35? Oh, sorry, I was wrong. That was the wrong number. 33 and 34. No? Okay, I move that we adopt conditions 33 and 34.
Second.
Yes, I think go back for clarity in the previous.
Okay, hold on a second, we gotta-
But this one's good, yes.
Okay, all right, so all those in favor of 33 and 34? Okay, yes.
Going back to the stormwater maintenance, right?
Mhm.
That includes, you have 2 basins for yours and the third one that you're doing the abutters, so that includes maintaining the 3 of those, correct? Is that clear in that?
For the
Stormwater.
Stormwater maintenance.
bond or for just for maintenance?
Well, the maintenance, well, all of it, right?
The report addresses all of them, so
Okay.
by referencing the report, we think.
The bond, yeah, the bond does, but if you want to, we could go back, hold on one
I mean,
second.
if you find stormwater basins, just put 3 beside it, right?
Right, hold on. Just one second. Okay, just for clarity, what I could do is I could, where I have the access ways, the solar array, the stormwater system, and the grass beneath the panels shall be properly maintained throughout the life of the project, I could say the access ways, the solar array, the stormwater system, including all basins.
Correct.
Okay. We could, we're gonna have a motion to modify condition 20 in a minute. That's okay. We could say, shall be properly maintained throughout the life of the project in accordance with the
Stormwater.
plan.
The stormwater maintenance plan,
Yeah. Hold on.
the O&M plan.
Yeah, operations and maintenance plan would be the capitalized term.
Okay. And the operation and maintenance plan also includes the vegetation management plan, is that correct?
It's a separate document, but they'd be incorporated.
Okay, I'll just refer to, hold on a second. Okay. So then, proposed new condition 20 would read, the access ways, the solar array, the stormwater system, including all basins, and the grass beneath the panels shall be properly maintained throughout the life of the project in accordance with the operations and maintenance plan and the vegetation management plan. Does that address your concern?
Can we just say grass coverage instead of grass under the panels?
Okay, grass coverage, okay. All right, so let me read that 20 one last time. The access ways, the solar array, the stormwater system, including all basins, and the grass coverage shall be properly maintained throughout the life of the project in accordance with the operations and maintenance plan and the vegetation management plan.
Yes.
You guys have any, that works, okay. All right, so I move that we modify condition 20 as read. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Did you have a question?
A bond construction, did we do that?
I did, the
20
decommissioning bond,
Yeah, and then liability insurance?
that's in there.
Okay.
You all set?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we voted to approve with conditions, we voted all the conditions. Now, what will happen next is, this will be printed, it will be signed at our next meeting. If you have your plan for us to sign, your final site plan, if you have it here, we can sign it here. Or we can sign it the date that we sign this decision.
Okay.
And
Do you need
then,
Mylars?
exactly. And then the following day, the town clerk will have the decision, and that will start the clock running.
Okay.
So our next meeting is on,
December 2nd?
yes, December 2nd. So the first item on our agenda on December 2nd will be sign your plan, and we'll sign this decision. And if you aren't like Rob, poor Rob, and you get here promptly, we won't start something else and make you wait. So
No problem. Thank you.
I won't be here on the second.
I will get it to you to
But I
sign
can
in
come by and
advance.
sign it.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's fine.
You only need 3 on the Mylars anyway. Or even on the document.
Well, on the document, I like to put everything.
Sure. Okay.
Do you have any other questions? Are you
No,
all set? Okay,
thank you very much.
thank you.
All right.
Did you guys vote to approve those conditions, all the conditions?
Yeah, we voted to approve all the conditions, and we voted to approve you, and we voted all your
I
wishes.
forgot you were doing it in sections. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all
You
very
got
much.
everything? Sure. Okay, yes, sir, please.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
I won't take up as much time as they took up, I
I hope you
promise.
didn't have plans for this.
Yeah, right.
No, this was my plan for this evening.
Okay.
So I am in the process of buying 364, 368 Main Street, the old landscape yard, and the house in the Harrison home. So in order for me to run my business out of there, I'm gonna have to get an occupancy permit from the town to be able to run the business there. One of the things that, part of my SBA loan is because it's 2 separate parcels, I need to occupy at least 50% of each property. So I want to propose that I could potentially use the dwelling as my business office, which would change the dwelling from a residence to a commercial space at that time. I know it couldn't go back, but I'm wondering, obviously, one, they basically just told me to come in and pick your brain and then go from there, as if this could happen.
Was that the building department told you to come to us?
Yeah, I think Kristen, is it?
Kathy.
Kathy, yeah, Kathy was great. She helped me telling me like, you know, that the house lot isn't a conforming house lot because it's just under the 60,000, yada, yada, yada. You know, she was like, well, you'd probably be better off combining both of them, but my stipulations are already in place with SBA and the approved loan the way that it is, so I have to keep them separate for now.
Okay, so from a general perspective, if the property is two separate lots, right, and the existing residence is in the business zone and not in a residential zone,
Which it is.
then you can use a building for a business use in that zone as long as the use that you're proposing complies with the allowed uses in the zoning bylaw.
Okay.
So that, I mean, that wouldn't necessarily be a problem. So if you were gonna use it as, you know, office space, I'm not looking at the table of uses right now, but an office use would be allowed in the business zone.
Okay.
But if you were gonna try, if your first port of call is really the table of uses, because you just wanna make sure that you're not looking to do something that's not allowed in that zone.
Yeah, I know she told me that that's business use, it's not industrial, so I couldn't put metal buildings up in the future or anything like that, and like, that would be something later along the lines of, you know, what else I could do with the space if I decided to do something else, you know. I know, like, I live in Halifax, and like, you know, a lot of people go the pole barn route versus the metal building route, and I don't, again, that's not on the table right now, it's literally getting through the purchase process of the property and getting in there and being able to get an occupancy permit. I've never purchased commercial real estate, so I've done the phase one, I'm in the process of doing the phase two now, which is more expensive than I thought, but as far as like getting an occupancy permit for each portion of that, is that something that I do with the planning board or the building department?
You know, you come to us if you want to put up a building in the business zone and you go through site plan review for the building. But for the use certificate, that is something from the building inspector. So
Okay.
for the certificate of occupancy. What is your business?
I do site work. So I have trucks, and that guy, I hope he has a pretty big pile of loom. Because it's like 7,000 yards for that area, but that's not my problem.
Okay,
Um,
so hold on a second.
So how far off was with my
So
answer?
just so you know, in the business zone, you can store commercial vehicles between 3 and 10 with a special permit. You need a special permit from the zoning board of appeals to do that. It's not an allowed by right use.
Okay,
And if you had more than 10 vehicles, it's prohibited.
okay.
And then,
Vehicles as in from a Prius to an 18-wheeler kind of thing?
yeah, commercial vehicles.
Commercially registered.
Okay.
And then,
Is there any,
a contractor yard is prohibited in that district, though.
what's a contractor yard?
A contractor yard is defined as, hold on a second.
What was the address again?
368 Main Street. It was a landscape yard previously, and it was actually the town salt barn way before that.
Yeah, it's a premises used by a building contractor, general contractor, or subcontractor for storage of equipment and supplies, fabrication of sub-assemblies, and parking of operative wheeled or tracked equipment. Is not allowed use in the business zone. It's allowed in light industrial.
Should really have an engineer look at this, advise you, and I would, why are they telling you to combine the lots? Someone told you to combine the lots?
Yeah,
No. Why'd you do that? I think, yeah,
because the house lot wasn't conforming the way it is.
yeah, it's a pre-existing non-conforming, right?
Yeah, so,
You
but,
really should have someone look closer
yeah,
at this thing.
but Paul, if he buys both lots in, so there's a whole, we're going down a rabbit hole.
Right.
Right? If the two lots are currently held in common ownership by the same person, they've already merged. So it doesn't matter that it's prior existing nonconformity. If you own, if
Is it
I.
two separate lots now, though?
If they're two separate assessors lots, that doesn't matter if they're in common ownership.
It does, oh, yeah, that's how they've been for a long time.
Right, the fact that it's shown as a separate lot on the assessor's plan doesn't maintain it as a prior existing non-conforming lot.
Because they're on a shared septic.
Because it merges, you have to hold it, you have to checkerboard, you have to hold it, my mom owns this one and I own that one, it's how you keep your prior existing non-conforming status.
So they could never be sold separately, really, without,
I mean,
Now they got a common septic, too.
like, yeah, if I'm a real estate lawyer, and so I'm saying, well, those lots have merged, and you can't now recreate the nonconformity because they've been in common ownership. So that, I mean, I wish we could get you some, I can't give you legal advice.
Right,
no,
but
yeah.
I wish we could get you some better
yeah,
guidance.
yeah.
Yeah, no, my hurdle's gonna be that I have equipment and that, from what you read from the usage, it's technically not gonna be allowed there.
Yeah, it's not a.
And there's nothing you can do about that, correct?
We don't have use variances in Plympton.
Most towns don't.
We don't. I mean, I mean, if that hasn't been run, Winnetoxet hasn't been running for a while. How long's that been closed?
Wow.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
It's been a long
It's been
time.
closed for a while, the property.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, sometimes if you had the same kind of business as they did, and they were a non-conforming use.
Landscaping site work, it's closed.
You come in
Have you had
and
an
you.
engineer or anybody else really look at this site for you or advise?
I've had Riverhawk look at it, who, he does do, septics, and he's doing the phase 1 and phase 2, I know him pretty well. But I know, Larry Silva, I could talk to Larry Silva, and I could talk to Joe Webby, I know Joe pretty well too.
I know them both, yeah.
Yeah. See, the problem is you've already spent money and it's a business zone, so the intent of the zoning bylaw is to encourage businesses like a store or the hair
One time they
salon.
didn't have a hair salon,
Or
they had a hair
something like
salon,
that.
yeah.
And then we have light manufacturing and we have industrial.
Yeah, which is
Where
like this
those-
big.
Right, which is probably more what you'd really fit in.
Yeah, that's what you'd really
Yeah.
fit in more.
Really, you've got it under agreement now, you're still going through the process.
Yeah, I mean, it's all contingent due
Right.
diligence.
That's what I'm saying. I think
Okay.
you might, want to hire an engineer and an attorney to really dig into
Yeah,
this. and make
no, I
sure-
have a real estate attorney, who's, this was one of the, we had to do due diligence by the 21st, but we're pushing back to phase 2, which is like 40 grand because of some of the underground storage tanks, and there's no records of if they got removed properly or yada
Don't
yada.
buy, I can't give you advice.
Yeah, make
We're
sure.
on
yeah,
television.
yeah.
That's
But the problem is the
potentially
price
very
is so
expensive.
obtainable, and you can't find much for $1 million these days for commercial property.
Well, the problem is, like I say, and
I knew it was
attorney,
true.
I'm a real estate broker,
Yeah.
commercial, industrial, can't advise you.
And
but
John's an
I'm
engineer.
just telling you, you want to make sure that you have an attorney and an engineer look at the bylaws to make sure your use does conform.
Okay.
I mean,
Before you spend any more
beyond-
money.
You got a headache and a half if you got tanks that weren't removed. as
Oh
well.
yeah, no, I was gonna buy the old Imperial Chevy dealership in Wareham, and that was a nightmare.
Right. So you've had a little bit of experience.
Yeah,
you
I
know.
lost like 50 grand on that
Right,
piece of
there you go.
property.
So there you go. You, like you say, if you're getting into something that really doesn't,
Yeah.
deal with your equipment, and like I said, you're not really a retail operation stuff, you're
No.
really a contractor, so.
Yeah, the whole idea behind that is to have there be shops and like hair salon.
Yeah, so when they bring the sidewalks in and the sewer and the water down here, then you got, I'm building a Starbucks in Halifax, so I get it.
Hey, don't plan on that side any too fast, water and sewer.
Eventually it'll happen out here.
Yeah, I don't know.
We can't
But
afford
I mean, I would
No, no.
seriously, you know, again,
Yeah.
that's what I do for a living, commercial industrial real estate.
I appreciate it.
I look closely, 'cause
Yeah.
you got a lot, you've already spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
You lost 50 G
What do
somewhere
you
else
get?
already.
Yeah,
You know, so I think it's something you really should take, I'm glad you came by and.
no, 100%, I mean, this was, I mean, the 2 hours that I sat listening to all that, I'm like,
Wow, all right.
but, no, I appreciate everyone's time, thank you so much. And maybe I'll see you in the future.
Yeah,
Best
anything
of
you need,
luck.
I'm more than happy, but I just wanna make sure you don't.
No, I
get in
appreciate
trouble.
it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, no, 100%, I appreciate it, thank you, everyone.
All right.
Have a great night.
Good luck with that.
Bye now.
All right.
Have a good one.
I mean, to buy it.
Okay, well, we got one thing to do left, John.
Oh, sorry.
One thing to do. We have to, we have
If you had to
to
redo the whole thing. yeah.
vote, we have to,
Appreciate it.
No problem, have a good one, Charlie.
we have to vote the minutes for, shoot, where is it? I think I have a typo on my minutes that Joanne's left. We have to vote the minutes for November 4th. And I put November 4th.
Okay, I just want to know if it was,
We voted October last time when you weren't here.
do I need to send that into him?
I did it, thank you, because you weren't here. I picked up the slack. Okay,
What a team.
does anybody have any comments on the minutes
No.
for November 4th?
No.
Okay, then I move that we approve the November 4th, 2025 meeting minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I move that we close the meeting, adjourn the meeting at 8:18 PM. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Thank you very much.